we should have also been celebrating both teams.
Yes.
And we ended up talking about this like sideshow thing.
Yeah.
And like, we need to talk about the sideshow now because it's been turned into something that is worthy of talking about. Hi, I'm Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Alex.
And you're listening to Raising the Game, a women's sports podcast covering primetime performers, the business behind the leagues, and what the growth of women's sports means for the next generation of women's athletes.
We did it. Trying that new intro on for size there.
Ayo.
That was second take only.
He was going to say like the 8th take, but yeah, that was take number 2. I think I did okay.
Pretty good.
I think I did okay.
How are we doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm really excited for the show today. Just like last week, I think we're coming in with lots of amazing stuff to talk about. And then we are now in March. How
we could do a show every other day if we had the time.
Did that happen? And yes, March, we'll start talking about it this week, but we have so much to cover in March. You've got international teams playing. Yep. You've got leagues starting, leagues ending, like all the things are happening in March. And lo and behold, it is Women's History Month.
It is.
So what a great month for us to really be leaning in, having all these opportunities to really celebrate women's achievements, successes, the growth of the game, all that good stuff. Yeah. So it's buckle your seatbelts, folks.
Yeah, let's do it.
It'll be a lot.
We want to get into favorite thing?
Yeah, let's do favorite thing. You want to start or you want me to go?
I'll start.
Okay.
I think my favorite thing this past week was I went down to my parents' house with the girls and I got to introduce them to Unrivaled, which I'm not sure they watched because they didn't know all the rules. So I think it was their first time watching. So that was fun just to kind of show them that and have them ask questions. And I seemed like the expert because I watch it all the time.
That probably felt good.
That was fun.
Yeah, I love that. I think any opportunity we have to expose a new fan to something that they maybe didn't know existed is pretty cool. And we get to do that by virtue of researching all the things we do here.
And I think the one thing they did say is that they enjoy watching women's basketball more than men's, like especially when it comes to like college. So it's just like another avenue for them to like kind of dig in the off season and get after it.
Yeah, that's a common refrain I've been hearing these days.
It does.
Maybe we'll talk about that at some point. So my favorite thing, the U.S. women's national team was back in action over the weekend, but their game was not my favorite thing. We'll actually talk about it. What was my favorite thing is Emma Hayes, the head coach of the national team in the Wild. She really makes a point any city that they go to really go and like get into the cultural elements of that city. She often does it with her son, Harry. But there were videos over the weekend of her getting her own customized cowboy hat. They were in Nashville. Yep. She got to see kind of behind the scenes at the Grand Ole Opry and introduce a musical artist on the stage there, which is like a huge thing to be able to do. And I love her embrace of different cultures and her willingness to go explore. She's just such like a genuine, comes across as like such a genuine curiosity for the people in the place that she's in. And that actually really translates into how she shows up as a coach. For sure. She has genuine curiosity and care for her players. Yep. And I think you see that in how the team shows up. Yeah.
And then she gave all of the announcers in the pregame show their own hats, which was amazing.
In pregame broadcast, they were all wearing cowboy hats. So it was very
sweet. The best part was at the end of the game, some of the reporters were still wearing them during their interviews.
Amazing. Emma Hayes gives you a
you gotta wear it.
Authentic cowboy hat. Like, I think you have to wear it.
I think you gotta. So. All right, let's dig into the top headlines. Flavor Flav to host celebration in Las Vegas in July for all women's medal winners from 2026 Winter Olympics and Paralympics. Nice that he's kind of waiting to see how the Paralympics kind of find their way there and get done and get them over there instead of just like saying it's just for the main group there.
Yeah, there's a really interesting storyline to follow here too, just in how he recruited businesses to help support this effort. And then also his call to action to billion-dollar businesses to not just send product to these athletes, but like sponsor them.
Help them out,
Like be a legit like advocate for these athletes, not just a performative one. So that is going to be cool. I think it'll be fun to see what comes of that in July.
Montreal Victoire leapfrog Boston and Minnesota to the top of the standings as PWHL returns to play after the Winter Games. They crushed the Frost.
They crushed the Frost.
Hard to watch.
Oof. Yeah.
In She Believes Cup opening games, U.S. Women's National Team notches a 2-0 win over Argentina. Canada thrashes Colombia 4-0.
Yep. And we'll talk a little bit about the U.S. game and what's coming up in that tournament a little later in the episode.
Unrivaled playoffs heat up. Head to Brooklyn for semis as we are recording this episode. Winning teams to play for championship on Wednesday back in Miami.
So we actually just watched Phantom BC, the hat Alex is wearing if you're watching us, win in very dramatic fashion over Vinyl BC. So the second game is probably started by now. Breeze against Mist.
Yep. Kind of hoping for a Breeze versus
Breeze.
Phantom.
I'm repping my Paige Beckers t-shirt tonight. I got my Breeze hat on. If it isn't clear who I'm cheering for.
Phantom versus Breeze is the game we all deserve.
That is the game we all deserve. Yeah.
UCLA, Vanderbilt, South Carolina all won over the weekend, including UConn wrapping up a perfect regular season. Number 12 Duke lost to interstate rival number 21 UNC.
Yeah, Duke, the ACC was interesting. We'll talk a little bit about the tournament, but unranked Notre Dame also beat like number 12 or number 10 Louisville.
Oh, wow.
So we'll get into that in a bit here, but big wins for the big teams.
Yep. In women's college hockey postseason play, Badgers, Buckeyes advance in 2 games, Gophers and Mavericks advance in 3, setting the stage for the WCHA Final Face-Off tournament weekend.
Oh,
yep, I think we'll talk a little bit about that maybe later here. Did you know at the LA 2028 Olympics, women's soccer is expanding from 12 to 16 teams, while the men's tournament is shrinking from 16 to 12 teams?
Just a little fun fact for you.
Yeah, a little fun fact there.
This week's episode.
I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point.
Oh, we will.
Together and Horizon Sports and Experiences announce 9 to 5, a women's sports media venture.
Yeah, so this is really cool. Together and HSNE focused on creating, developing, and commercializing premium storytelling, unique intellectual properties, signature live experiences, and high-value brand partnerships. So another collab, they've talked about bringing in content creators like the stud buds from the WNBA. So Courtney Williams and Natisha Heidemann, who kind of gained fame last year with their pink hair and their podcast and whatnot. Among many others. And I think this is another just legitimizing of the business of women's sports and understanding that like there's multiple angles where there's opportunity to back them.
Absolutely. Get your popcorn. ESPN original series NWSL, The Final Third, premiered last week on ESPN Plus and the ESPN app. Follows the Washington Spirit, Kansas City Current, and Angel City FC as they battle for supremacy.
Yeah, and here in March, it's going to be coming to Disney Plus. So I would say watch it with your kiddos.
Yeah.
Like
the expansion Atlanta NWSL team signed a record $28 million 7-year jersey sponsorship deal with Aflac.
Yeah, so the expansion Atlanta NWSL team that starts competitive play in 2028. So Aflac's already signing up $4 million a year to be the name kind of front of the jersey sponsor for this unnamed Atlanta team.
Yeah.
Which is really awesome to see.
That's awesome. The NWSL has launched a bid to launch a second division in a major signal that the league is continuing to grow.
I think that speaks for itself.
Yeah.
All right. Those are just a few of our top headlines. There are obviously more stories that we'll get into here. We're going to cover a little bit of the PWHL return. Yep. We're going to get into the WNBA CBA negotiations. We didn't get to talk about that as much last week as we would have liked to, and there were some major developments. Talk a little NCAA basketball tournament, little NCAA hockey tournament, and get us into what to watch. So let's start with
PWHL. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's back. I'm happy.
It is back, y'all, and they are riding the wave of Olympic success. So setting the stage here, we talked a little bit about how the teams performed. Montreal really just literally leapfrogged right over Boston and Minnesota right as they came back. Yep. They won 2 immediately off the bat, really put a drubbing on Minnesota, as we mentioned. But the play on the ice, great. I think what's more telling is this story of like, how have they captured like the hearts and minds of people who may not have been PWHL fans prior to the Olympics, but now are looking for where do I watch these women play hockey? I
mean, if you're on Threads, like my whole feed was just like,
it's crazy.
These women play professional hockey. Where? Yeah, where everyone's like the PWHL, and there's so many. I also have ones that are just like, who do I cheer for? Which team should I cheer for?
Right.
There's a lot of people trying to jockey for getting more fans. Like, hey, come over to our side. We're the best one.
So it's around this time of year that we tend to start to hear about where they might expand to next. And while they might do 2, there's also been chatter prior to the Olympics that they could do 4 new teams.
Okay.
And now I'm thinking, I'm going to read some data here coming out of StubHub just based on ticket searches and stuff. But I feel like the league has to be looking at it going like, if we're going to do 4 in a year, we might as well do it this year.
Yeah. Right? This would be the year.
So we'll see. But speaking on that Olympic effect, this is data from StubHub on ticket sales, purchases, things like that, right? So there was a 50% increase above January baseline ticket searches overnight.
Jeez.
After the women won the gold medal, after the women's gold medal game. And just to be clear too, USA and Canada played in the gold medal game. All 23 Canadian players played in the PWHL, and there were 16.
It was like 39 total players in that game.
Yeah, 39 total players. But there were other PWHL players on other countries' teams too. So that's cool to see. Searches just for PWHL related events spiked 216% after the Olympics wrapped.
Yeah.
So immediately afterwards, right, everything's done and dusted. People are like, oh, I want to go figure out where the closest, like you said, like where's the closest game to me, basically. And then US based PWHL purchases are up 42% year on year. Right.
Yeah, that's good.
So they're seeing a surge. I mean, we could make the argument that maybe that's just attributable to momentum in the league, not just the Olympics, but we can't discount the effect the Olympics has had. In addition to that, so there were, I think there's been 6 games total played since coming back from the Olympics in the league.
Yep.
If you haven't seen yet, the Seattle Torrent, which is an expansion team, it's the team that Captain America, Hilary Knight, plays on. She was not playing. We'll talk about that in just a second. But they had a 17,000 plus crowd come out for their first game back, which set the U.S. attendance record. There were a couple other games over the weekend where it was over 10,000 fans showing up. And then the Ottawa Charge had a sellout. They play in an arena that's got about 8,600 for capacity, and they had 8,735 or something like that. So, like, everyone watches women's hockey. And so it's cool to see. It'll be interesting. Obviously, this is the first weekend since the Olympics. It'll be interesting to see if that trend carries forward.
That was kind of my thought is, what is that going to do the rest of the season? Are we going to see... We'll probably see a little bit of a drop off, but is it going to continue to stay higher than we saw, in a normal year, like last year? Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting. So we talked before the Olympic break that the timing was tough for the PWHL teams, but so the season ends at the end of April. Essentially, they have about 2 months left.
Yep.
I actually could see momentum staying with them because now people if you get invested in a team and they're maybe going to win or be in the playoffs. Top 4 teams of the 8 make the playoffs. It's tight right now.
Yeah.
Like anybody's game. Like nobody's mathematically eliminated. They have a cool rule about the draft. It's called like the golden draft plan or something where like you can't tank your season. So like people have to continue to compete to get good draft picks. So I don't know. Well, I think it could carry.
I've been getting an email every other day for 3 game ticket packages for the Frost. Like
I believe
So
it.
I'm sure they're all pushing that really hard and trying to get as many people to these last 2 months of games as they can. So
Yeah. So that'll be really interesting to watch. We'll definitely have our eyes and ears on it. One other quick note. We did learn that there were a handful of players that were put on, injury lists, long-term injury or other. So the Canadian captain, Marie-Philippe Poulin, who actually sustained a pretty significant injury in the group stages in the Olympics, she was out. Hilary Knight was put on an LTIR.
Yep.
Turns out she played the entire Olympics with a torn MCL.
Torn MCL, yeah.
So she's not likely to be back this season for the Torrent. And then here in Minnesota for the Frost, Kendall Coyne-Schofield, who was leading the league in points heading into the Olympic break, was also placed on LTIR with an upper body injury that she sustained at the Olympics. So that'll be a bummer.
It's one of those things where it's like, if the Olympics wasn't here, some of our top players would still be playing, but the Olympics were really fun and it was a great,
you wouldn't trade. You wouldn't trade it. And neither I doubt the players would either, right? They're looking at that. They're happy to be coming back into a league.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You're not having to wait 4 years to watch women's professional hockey.
Yep.
So professional hockey.
We're gonna talk about this.
So if you haven't seen or heard, there was a lot of swirl, I think, last week around the men's and women's U.S. hockey teams as it relates to they both won gold. There was now a very infamous phone call to the men's team from the president of the United States who made a joke kind of at the women's expense. And it was like at a very heightened point when we recorded last week and we chose not to address it at the time. And primarily the reason why we did that was because I think Alex and I have both been in environments where maybe your judgment isn't as clear as you want it to be. And you don't necessarily show up the way you want to. Right. And in retrospect, you acknowledge that and apologize for what you did. So we wanted to give time for that to happen. Because we thought that it should happen. And it mostly didn't.
There were maybe attempts. Maybe.
So I want to say a couple things. We went back and forth about this a lot. And I realize that maybe this is like old news at this point, but I feel really strongly about this as a former female athlete who has been the butt of those kinds of jokes, who has had to laugh along with the people who are making the joke for safety. And as the mom of 2 young girls and really wanting to see a world where someone speaks up in the moment, ideally, if not in the moment, afterwards, owns their mistake and apologizes. It's not hard to apologize.
No.
And the fact that it has seemed quite challenging for most of the men in that locker room to apologize is pretty disappointing. So I have a couple additional things to say here. I do want to make sure too that we say, like, I do not view this as political at all. I would be upset about this regardless of who called the team. And so I really discourage the argument that, like, we're making this political. To me, this is actually about treating people with respect,
about being decent
and being a decent human. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So I think that this is really important. I'm going to share my thoughts and then Alex will share his. But we need to stop normalizing bullying behavior. I went to dinner with some friends last week and they were all talking about different incidents with bullies with their kids. And it's not just girls to boy or boys to girls, it's boys to boys. And when we laugh at things like what the president said on the phone, we make it okay for those kinds of comments to be said.
Yeah.
And even if it's a joke, it has lasting effects.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have been in situations where boys are just joking.
Yep.
And you leave feeling demeaned. You leave feeling less than. You leave feeling like degraded.
Yep.
And we need to stop that where it stands.
Yeah.
The story too, to me, was less about like what was actually said and the fact that we now are spending a ton of time, including like national news media, talking about the behavior of these men and not highlighting the successes of these amazing women.
Yeah.
Once again, a women's team went in, they dominated that tournament. They had historic record-breaking performances. They won their 3rd gold medal.
Yep.
And we are talking about the men's team.
Yep.
And it makes me mad.
Yeah.
Because this is a pattern.
Yeah.
If you pay close enough attention, you will see that it is a pattern. So just really quickly, we should have also been celebrating both teams.
Yes.
And we ended up talking about this like sideshow thing.
Yeah.
And like, we need to talk about the sideshow now because it's been turned into something that is worthy of talking about. But let's talk about the success of this women's team really quick. Team USA women had a perfect record in the tournament. They were not beat. They scored 36 goals. They allowed 2. They set the shutout record for both consecutive period shutout, number of games, number of minutes. Like they were a force.
They were dominant.
Right? They competed in their 7th gold medal game out of 8.
Yeah.
Women's hockey has been in the Olympics for 28 years. 28 years. They have won 3 gold medals in that time.
Yeah.
The men have also won 3 gold medals. Men's hockey has been part of the Olympics for 102 years. So if we actually want to compare achievements, the women have actually done more in less time with far fewer resources.
Absolutely.
Far less support than the men's team. I could go on, but somebody who has become a role model, an icon of women's hockey for sure, to me and many, many others, especially over the course of this last tournament, but over many, many years. I actually, I didn't know her, but I went to college with her.
Yep.
Captain America.
Yep.
Hilary Knight said it best. And I am going to read the quote that she said when she was asked about this at her press conference when she returned to Seattle.
Yep.
So Hilary said, "The joke was distasteful and unfortunate. I think the way women are represented, it's a great teaching point to shine light on how women should be championed for their amazing feats. And now I have to sit in front of you and explain someone else's behavior. It's not my responsibility. But what is shifting the focus and shifting the narrative to this amazing accomplishment that we all did together. The men's and women's team did it together, and that is super special. It's never been done in program history. These women are amazing, and whatever's going on should never outshine or minimize their work and our success on the world stage. This was the best American women's hockey team, the best American team we've ever put together when the lights have been the brightest." Mm-hmm. Drop the mic,
drop
Hilary.
the mic.
So I think, there's a couple of reasons there, right, around why this was really important to me to say something. I think we need to do better.
Yeah.
The reaction online, frankly, to anybody who has spoken up, and I'm expecting that this may come our way too, has frankly been gross as well. And it is systemic of a joke like the one that was told, because now what you see is a woman speaks up and says that's not okay, and a bunch of men come into her comments or wherever and insult her looks.
Mhm.
They talk about how no one would want to date her or otherwise. They talk about how she's fat, like anything but
Yeah.
substance,
Yeah.
right? And this culture of misogyny, frankly, we need to do better.
Yes. Absolutely.
And so that's why we are calling this out.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts?
There is not much I can say that you haven't already said. I think that I don't have the life experience of any woman, purely biology. So I cannot say, I mean, I think everyone at some point has been bullied and knows how that feels. I cannot say that I've been bullied because of the gender that I am. So I've really let you lead on this because I don't have that experience. I don't get to know that experience. I think I know that the men in that locker room failed, at least from what we saw. The fact that there was no effort around any sort of apology or any sort of making it right. And every time that they did say something, it was completely avoidant or whatever, just like that wasn't right. And it kind of blew my mind a little bit of how they treated it after the fact. Because like you said, you can always apologize. It's always there.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last thing I'll say on this is that the biggest surprise that I don't know if anybody talked about is from the leadership of USA Hockey.
Yeah, that's
like they have
very true.
0 PR people there, or even the people who are in charge didn't look at this situation and say, we've got to do something here to make this right. Yeah. And they just kind of let it go.
Yeah, it feels like it was like the initial couple of incidents, right? But then it kind of compounded.
Yeah.
Like there was all the videos from the strip club the like day after and all of this kind of stuff. You can celebrate however you want.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go out and say that you insult female athletes and then you go do that. It doesn't like the optics aren't great.
Optics aren't great.
Right. And everybody has a camera these days. So that's also a lesson to take away here that really nothing that you do doesn't get filmed and then shared everywhere.
Yeah.
So you gotta be careful.
And I do want to say, when I say USA Hockey leadership, I don't mean the women's team, coaches and staff. Mm-hmm. It's strictly whoever is the head of USA Hockey and the men's team. Like, was there not a meeting at all after this happened? So I just want to make that very clear.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I think that's important. So that's our take on that. We did see the clip from the SNL skit this past weekend, and it was
funny.
Still disappointing that the Hughes brothers weren't the ones to apologize.
Yeah.
Just stood there and took the joke. All right.
Moving on. Move on here to the She Believes Cup.
Moving on to one of my favorite teams in the entire land, U.S. Women's National Team. Opened their She Believes Cup match play yesterday at the time of taping against Argentina, number 30 team in the world. The U.S. currently ranked number 2 in the world behind Spain. We have a couple just like notable things as we're getting started here, and we'll talk through the results of the game, some of the good, some of the bad, some of what we will be watching for. Next week, I plan to do a little bit more of a robust talk through of how they looked the whole tournament, decisions Hayes made and her staff made, things like that. But we have some storylines coming out of yesterday. So notable, She Believes Cup is also known as the Sonnet Cup, the Sonnet Believes Cup, because Emily Sonnet, who did not feature in yesterday's game, She is a center back for the national team. She has played in every single She Believes Cup in existence. That's 11 years in a row. She's also amazing. So I'm assuming she's going to be in the starting lineup against Canada on Wednesday, day of the release of this podcast. So go watch her. She's one of my faves. We'll also add youth really headlines Hayes' first starting lineup here at She Believes. So I think initially I was a little like, what is this starting lineup?
Yeah.
And then I realized they were really laying their cards to be ready for number 10 Canada on Wednesday. So they were going to give a little bit of the youth some time against the lowest ranked team in the tournament, and really going into it with the strategy that the game against Canada is likely going to be the decisive game on who wins the tournament. Yeah. And then you can kind of see where the cards fall for Colombia on Saturday, right?
I think that was my question coming into this section was, where are we looking at? And I think you're going to get it to a stat here about Lindsay Heaps. Yeah. Were you going to put one or two veterans out there to kind of manage the youth and say, this is a lower stakes game.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get out of this with a win or just a good performance, and just kind of let the youth go at it here for this game.
Yeah, so they chose no veterans to put around Lindsay Heaps. I think the total caps, so caps in professional soccer is the number of times you play, you get minutes. The total number of caps in the starting roster on Sunday was 272. 172 of those caps were Lindsay Heaps by herself, which left 100 caps for 10 other players.
An average of 10 of each,
right? And you have players who have been in camps, Jaden Shaw, Olivia Moultrie, Tara Rudd. Like, there were players who have been there before, but 10 caps is very different than 30 caps is very different than 50. So they started in a 4-4-2, and that was interesting. Typically, we see the U.S. come out in a 4-3-3. That's been kind of their bread and butter for the longest time. Now there's different styles you can play within a formation. I'm not going to nerd out on that today. But again, I think we saw Emma continuing to test going into this game. There was a lot of talk about how, like, oh, there's no uncapped players for the first time and, however long since the last She Believes Cup. And now it's like, well, she's still testing, right? And she should be. Yeah. We are the furthest away we're going to be from the World Cup. They've got qualifying at the end of the year. She is really, you can see her masterminding this whole thing.
Yep.
Okay. We talked about this in top headlines. They won 2-0. It was fairly convincing. Argentina maybe had 2 significant chances. We actually scored 4 goals. 2 were called back for what I would say are both very questionable offsides calls.
I think that first one, the announcer was like, that's not offsides.
They were both not offsides. You go roll the tape, but like, they were not offsides. Unfortunately, the officiating was part of the storyline of this game. And I will always say that if you want to be a good official, you do not want anybody to talk about you.
Yeah.
Right? You want to control the game, but not make yourself the headline. The center ref did not control the game. There was a lot of physical chippy play. There was a hair pull at one point on Jaden Shaw. We saw Trinity Rodman get kneed in the back at the end of the game. And things like that don't happen when the referee is willing to dole out penalty, right? So cards in soccer for those actions. And there were multiple times where she kind of like let it go. And then she'd call a foul on something that was like way less harsh.
A weird makeup foul.
So it was confusing as a player. That's really frustrating because it's hard for you to understand, like, now how can I play the game within the bounds that the referee is creating?
You kind of feel like you can get away with anything. And then suddenly you do something small and you can't.
Yeah, exactly. Lindsay Heaps and Jaden Shaw both scored. Honestly, I am not the biggest fan of Lindsay Heaps' style of play. I never have been.
Okay.
I thought this was one of her better games.
Okay.
I thought she showed up really, really well. I thought she was in the spaces she needed to be into. And then when it came to attack, she scored the first goal. She assisted on the second goal. I do love her leadership on the pitch and off the pitch. I think she's an incredible leader. It's just like her style of play has never really clicked for me.
Yeah.
And I really liked how she looked in this game.
That's awesome.
So I also will say I could understand the strategy they were trying to employ. Argentina sort of creates a gap between their back line and their midfield line, and they were trying to play into that gap and then play out of it. They didn't execute it well, and I think that was part of the youth. They didn't have a true 6, which is like a holding center midfielder in soccer jargon. And I think that really hurt them. Heaps tends to attack more. Lily Johannes is more of a box-to-box center midfielder. So anyways, they struggled to really control possession through that midfield and then break from there.
I feel like we saw that in the first like 15 to 20 minutes or so. It was really loose and just not connecting on passes. And then it feels like we kind of saw them start to slowly tighten up as the game went on. Yeah,
I do think it got better. Again, that was one of our questions going into this week, was like, how long was it going to take them to settle? This game proved to take a little bit of time. I would also say that my 2 other big questions going into this tournament are still very open, which is who's going to play left back for this team. They had Maddie Darlene, who in last camp was listed as a forward, starting at left back. She did fine. That whole back line had never played together before. I am a former goalkeeper, y'all, and I would have been
all over
freaking out. Like, they were not the most organized. Claudia Dickey was the goalkeeper who started the game, played the whole game. She was also kind of newer, like not too many caps. And so just a lack of experience in that back line. We will see that change against Canada. So I assume that we're going to see Germa and Sonnet paired up in that center back pairing. That is a ton of experience. You're going to see Emily Fox, who came in late to the game. I don't think they were actually planning to play her. Lily Reel came in for left back. And she got clocked on a tackle. So speaking of some chippy and really physical play from Argentina.
I was kind of wondering if the, obviously we have the 10 caps average of the youth on the team. If some of that early on, or maybe even some of the quote unquote offsides was kind of more of a chemistry factor of just not having that, pass to pass chemistry that the veterans might have out there.
Yeah, I think so. There's a little bit of like just experience in reading the game generally. And then there's the experience of the women who have played together. Like, this was a very
like, where can I make this pass? Is she fast enough to get this?
Exactly.
Like, that type of thing.
Exactly. So what we're watching for coming out of this, we talked a little bit about it already, but Trinity Rodman got hurt right at the end of the game. I think just as stoppage time was about to start, and she was screaming.
She was screaming.
Like,
it's not good.
Yeah, I was very, very worried for a couple minutes, and then she was able to get up and walk, and she was moving a little bit. She had a really challenging season last year, primarily due to lower back issues. She actually, I heard that she talks about in that NWSL ESPN series about how a lot of that is just like managing load. So just like the amount of training, the amount of games that she's doing affecting her back. And so seeing that after she like signed this big contract and like came back in and captained the team and like finally kind of seemed like she was on the upswing again, it was hard to watch. So we'll be watching for headlines around like what that is.
If she thinks she's okay, does she even play against Canada? I feel like they would need her, but
I don't think she plays. With NWSL season starting, I'm sure that her management has already called and said like,
probably not.
You're not playing her. So that's unfortunate. She's just such an icon out there too. Big draw for fans to come and watch and whatnot. But that does open the door as we talk about like the number 9. Now, Trin is not a number 9, but she's a scoring threat for Jamise Joseph, who did score or start, excuse me. She scored at a goal. One of the goals that was called back was scored by her against Argentina. And so I'm still watching for that. I don't really think we've seen that 9 come through. And it was pretty apparent in that game that we didn't really have a consistent scoring threat up top. So we got USA versus Canada, the age-old rivalry.
Classic matchup here.
Coming up here on Wednesday, release day for this podcast in Columbus, Ohio this time. I believe that kicks off at 5:45 Central Time.
Central Time, all right. I think those are usually TNT, True TV, somewhere in that region.
HBO Max, Peacock.
Yep.
Universo, if you want your Spanish.
Some of them are on Telemundo as well.
Yes. Nice. And Canada looked great against Colombia. They came out strong. They had a disappointing year last year, and I think they brought in new leadership. They've got Casey Stoney, who's former English national team player, former San Diego Wave head coach at the helm for that group. They've got a lot of experience. So I think that's going to prove to be a pretty difficult test.
Yeah.
I hope we show up better than we did against Argentina.
My question for here, and it's maybe becoming a theme with our U.S. Women's National Team segments, but can we get a podcast prediction of the score of that Canada game? She's going deep into thought here. She's got a lot.
Look, I think it goes to pens.
Ooh.
So, she believes if it's tied at the end of regulation, it goes immediately to penalties.
Yeah.
And I just don't see either team really having the scoring threat. Christine Sinclair doesn't play for Canada anymore. She's the top goal scorer of all time, of all people. You got Jordan Huitema over there, but I don't necessarily see it being high scoring.
Yeah.
I think maybe a 1-1.
0-0, 1-1.
I would be really happy to be proven wrong because I hate watching penalty shootouts as a former goalkeeper. But I could see this one going to pens.
Yeah. All right. Well, hold on. Goes to pens. Who wins it? You don't get off that easy.
He called me out. Look, y'all, this pains me to say this, but Canada has one of the best goalkeepers in the world in Kaylin Sheridan. Yeah. She's experienced. She's been back there. We don't know who our number one is right now. If we still had Alyssa Nair, I would say us in a heartbeat. Yes. Woman can stop. She's a brick wall and she scores.
Shoot. Yeah, she scores.
So that's my take on that. Plus, you also have, albeit no uncapped players, but a lot of youth on the USA side. And penalty shootouts are a lot of pressure. I think you have more veteran leadership on that Canadian side. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong.
I hope you are too.
I really hope. All right.
It'll be hard to celebrate if you are right.
You can still rub it in my face. I doubted my team. I'm just trying to be realistic.
All right. We're going to move on here. I think we got some more WNBA CBA updates, and there is potentially a future state where we are no longer talking about the CBA, at least for a few years.
Oh my gosh. I think we actually might be close.
This might be our 8th of 10th episode where we've discussed this.
One of the big things, right, is that the deadline that the league put forth is March 10th,
yes,
which is next Tuesday, right?
The day we'll be editing the next episode.
And so ideally,
they figure it out this week.
It actually is done by the time we maybe are celebrating an agreed upon CBA in our next episode. And frankly, I think regardless of how this goes, it will end up being a win for the players.
Yeah.
But let's back up a little bit and get into it. So, how we got here. So the WNBA Players Association, we also refer to it as the Players Association or the union, and the league. So this is going to be WNBA leadership, the commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, and then team ownership across the league, right?
Yeah.
They have been negotiating on a new CBA for the better part of 17 months. I know the call sheet says 16, but I looked it up today. It's 17 months. The last week, there were 5 major things that happened. There were probably more, but there were 5 major things that happened. So as we stepped in to record last week, and we were able to share this with our listeners, the league set that deadline of March 10th.
Yep.
And this is so that they can get all of their preseason activity done, which we're actually going to talk about what that timeline would look like at the end of this segment. They also announced that they actually unlocked revenue sharing for the first time in the 2025 season. And what that meant is that $8 million after all the splits were accounted for was to be distributed amongst the 13 teams. So that is huge. If you go back and listen to our deep dive on the CBA, you will learn that unlocking revenue sharing is no small feat because there are very specific benchmark thresholds that have to be hit for multiple years. And then there's a divvying up of how those percentages get sliced amongst the league ownership, the NBA, and some private investment that holds a 16% stake in the league.
Half of me thinks that with the momentum they've had, maybe they actually did. But half of me is like, this is a negotiating tactic. Like, look, you did. You unlocked it. Finally, you could do this again next year.
That is interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but I could see that. Although at the same time, I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
If you were anywhere near the WNBA last year, you know that it was on fire.
Yeah, it was huge.
Like sellout crowds, moving to bigger arenas for previously scheduled games. The players also unlocked $9.25 million in earnings, basically from like jersey sales and merchandise sales going back to the 2020 season, which I'm like, how have you not been paying that out? Like, how does that work?
We'll be talking about those books every once in a while.
We'll be talking about those books in a few minutes here. So what's crazy though about all of that, the revenue sharing, is the league didn't announce that. They told the union and the union shared it with the players. Like, you want to talk about like just weird behavior.
Would it be a win for you to announce that yourself?
I know. They're so weird. Oh. It's so weird. Okay. So that happened. Then, so the league met with the players union on Monday, and that's when they communicated all this information. Players union shared out the revenue sharing thing. Then on Tuesday, all the players were invited to a Zoom call with the Players Association executive leadership.
Okay.
Right. So in these negotiations, the Players Association has an executive leadership board, 7 players that are voted on by the players.
Yep.
And then there are player representatives from each team as well.
Yep.
They occasionally will have meetings where they pull the whole league together, like back in December when they authorized the strike to happen. Right. And what's interesting is the Players Association presented to that, the rest of the players on this Zoom call on Tuesday last week, what the current league offer is. And it created what was listed in articles and things like as like heated debate, passionate discussion, right? Things like that. Disagreement even was a word used. And coming out of it, what I could glean was, I think some players are in the position of being like, whoa, like we're actually getting a lot here.
Yeah.
Like if you recall some of the math, we're essentially 5Xing a lot of these different, salary caps, minimums, maximums, averages, things like that. Right. And there's been some concessions on some of the other elements, the expenses we've talked about before. It seems like the league's willing to move on expense, but not revenue sharing.
Yep.
And so I think there was a cohort of players that was like, hold on, timeout. We don't know if we want to strike anymore.
Yeah. I was wondering if that strike is still legit for new terms.
So I would hope that the Players Association leadership would take a revote on that
at this point,
because it's evolved so much, right? If you recall, when they did the authorized vote to strike last time, the league hadn't responded in like 4 weeks at that point. It took them 6 weeks to respond to the Players Association's last offer.
Yep.
And so I think the question mark that came up in that was, are we still good with a strike?
Yep.
The next day, agents of top players reached out to the Players Association and said, hey, you need to clue us in more on what's going on here because we're now on this like crunch time deadline. I'm sure some of them are like, I don't get paid if my girl don't get paid.
Exactly.
And so we got to figure this out.
Yeah.
And so we need you to bring us in. We also are going to help facilitate this survey you want to send to the players of the current agreement.
Yep.
So I think what happened last week, I don't know this for sure, but that the current agreement from the league was sent out to players to then review with their agents and create a survey saying, do we like this? Do we not like this? How are we feeling about it? Which is how democracy should work, right?
Yep.
Like they should be doing that. And I think on the table, one of the questions in that survey was like, do you still feel strongly about striking?
Yeah.
If we don't meet terms.
Yeah.
And my guess is, like, I was thinking about this, right? A lot of these women are playing in other leagues right now, right? You've got Unrivaled. We've talked about that a lot. We had the Athletes Unlimited League. We've got players playing overseas. And there are definitely some players who also are more marketable than others, right?
Yeah.
They've got sponsorship deals, whatever. A strike doesn't hurt them.
Yeah.
But you have a whole cohort of role players, of players who just aren't necessarily like making a ton of bank with their, name, image, and likeness type stuff.
This is their job.
This is their job.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I read a little bit about from some of the players was like, they've got families. They want to know where they're playing, where their job's happening for the next couple, for the next season at least, right? And so they want to settle.
Yeah, if you're a top player, you can't hold out to hopefully make an extra 150,000 when the person who's a role player could make an extra 40 to 60,000 and be really happy,
which is game changing for them.
Yeah.
So the final big headline is just to catch everybody up, the latest Players Association counter reduced revenue sharing to 25% of gross revenue shared. This is down from 30%, which was where we had started. But it's still 10 percentage points off of what the league's offer is.
Yeah.
Right. And I saw a quote today from Kelsey Plum, who we just watched
that last shot
go crazy in the Unrivaled game. Man, you guys should check her out. She's such a good baller. But she's the executive vice president, I think first vice president or something of the Players Association. And she had a quote out there that was like, a strike would be the worst thing for everybody involved here. And she's like, I am all about like fighting, continuing to negotiate, continuing to fight, continuing to push the envelope. But she's like, I'm more of a what's the gain versus what's the gap kind of girl.
Yeah.
And like, what have we gained in this? Yeah. And so if the first executive vice president or whatever her title is in that association is saying that, there's a part of me that's like,
they might be really close
here. They might be really close.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way to look at it. I think we talked about many episodes ago about you could also do something where maybe it's not there yet, but let's set a shorter duration on the CBA and see where we're at in 2 or 3 years. Like
validate the growth and things like that. Because we were talking about how the league may not feel confident that the growth numbers are sustainable, that they're just kind of a halo effect from Caitlin Clark. And
it would be good for either way. If they don't, then the WNBA gets to pull it back a little bit. And if it does, then the players can say, we gotta up it again.
And then like easy button too, if everything's kind of like working out great and the revenue sharing. The other thing too is that what I've learned is that in this new model with the revenue sharing, regardless of what percentage split you're getting, it's no longer as complex to unlock.
Yeah.
So my guess is that regardless of which direction they end up going, there's going to be that unlock as long as the growth continues.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So that's good. I still do think the league is super shady. And I still think that if you really wanted to make your point, you just open your books.
Yeah.
The players have said, I've seen this in podcast interviews. They're like, open them. If we are proven completely wrong in our perspective on these numbers, we will own it.
Yeah.
We will own it. But you haven't shared with us in good faith. So like, how are we supposed to come to the table with the quote unquote realistic deal if you aren't giving us all the information? So anyways, I still think that's shady. I want to call them out. we're going to wrap this section up just by talking about what this timeline is crazy. So if they meet that, they backed into this March 10th date because the belief is if they can get a verbal agreement by March 10th, they can have a signed agreement by March 31.
Yeah.
Right? I think there's 31 days in March, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
I think that's right.
So then you can hold the expansion drafts for Portland and Toronto between April 1st and April 6th. Remember, you have 2 teams that you still have to get players for.
Yep.
Free agent qualifying offers, including franchise tagging, can be sent out the 7th and the 8th.
Yep.
So after that draft happens, free agency negotiations can then happen April 9th through the 12th. Signing period from the 12th to the 18th. College draft on the 13th. So in that window, also part of the signing period.
Yep.
And then training camp opens on the 19th. All I know is I am glad I am not involved in this because that is a lot of work. Like, can you imagine an agent?
Yeah, it's insane. But it's also, I'm looking at this like, so podcast every other night in April.
Yeah, right. We're just going to have special episodes on WNBA signings.
Just live breaking of us.
The teams, we'll grade them.
Yeah.
Like, who'd you get? Yeah, it's been a trip, but we are very hopeful that potentially by the time we record next week, that we actually know what's going to happen with the season. So that is exciting. I hope there's a season.
Yeah, I really do.
We loved the Lynx last year.
Yeah,
it was so fun. So, and I will say, Unrivaled has really exposed me to a lot of other players that I want to watch now.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about where we're at with Unrivaled playoffs.
Let's do it.
Let's see. Quarterfinals were over the weekend. We saw some really good games. I think we saw 2 upsets.
Yep.
Both of the lower seeds beat the high seed. Yep. So the Vinyl beat the 3 seed Laces, and the Breeze dominated.
Yeah, they did.
Dominated. Defending
Paige Becker's dominated.
Rose. Paige Becker's had a night. Yeah. I hope she's having a night right now.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be fun. Obviously, they've already kicked off the play here tonight in Brooklyn. So they took the semis to Brooklyn. Yep. I think another testing ground for Unrivaled in different markets, right? I heard before we started recording that they had a near sellout crowd of 18,261 at the game, and it was rocking. So awesome. A little bit less than what they had in Philly. I think Philly was a little over 21,000, but there was a higher capacity arena. Barclays holds about 18,000. Yep. So that is fun to see. Barclays in Brooklyn, also the home of the New York Liberty. Yep. So I think Brianna Stewart, one of the co-founders of Unrivaled, she kind of got to kick off events tonight. They had Sabrina Ionescu, who's a star guard for the Liberty, on the call. Yep. No, she was on the call tonight.
Tonight again. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we will be watching the final
Wednesday night.
Yes. They'll be back in Miami. We'll find out after we get off the mic here. We'll figure out who's playing.
In it. I think the one thing I wanted to say about this whole season is like, it was very interesting where the teams all fell, and that we had this, I don't know if it was like we have kind of true parity in that league, or it was just kind of how things fell perfectly that we didn't know the last seed until like essentially the final day of the regular season, which is wild.
Yeah. And anyone could win on any night. It was surprising. Like you tend to think in leagues, even smaller leagues, that there's like 1 or 2 teams that are completely dominant. And the Phantom even weren't that dominant until halfway through the season. Yeah. They were struggling at the beginning, and they kind of found their groove. So yeah, I mean, I think it's the parity. We were talking about this too. It's like any given night, you're literally watching Olympians. Yeah. Like 4 or 5 or 6 Olympians on the court between the 2 teams. And so tell me where else you can do that. So we are Unrivaled fans for life now. I think next year we're going to have to try to figure out a trip down to Miami. Yeah, 100%. To go watch these ladies ball out live.
All right. A little bit more basketball here.
Speaking of ball.
NCAA basketball tourney is beginning soon. We have conference finals coming up this weekend actually.
Yes. Yeah. I think the official national tournament will start like next Wednesday. I think there's some play-in games, something like that. But conference tourneys are kind of where March Madness starts. And we have a few where we're just gonna have it on all weekend.
Yeah, it's gonna be all weekend here.
Which ones do you think we should be watching?
I mean, I think it's the Big Ten and the SEC are the big ones here. Yeah. I like how the Big East puts the championship on Monday night. Like there's some big deal with their one ranked team, which we all know is going to win anyways.
I know. I wrote in our notes. Excuse me. I wrote in our notes. I was like, you don't even need to watch the Big East. Like UConn will win that. They're undefeated. Yeah. They're beating teams regularly by 30 points. Yeah. It's like not even funny. We will actually talk about like who do we think could challenge them here in a second. One thing that I think will be interesting. So if you go watch the SEC, they've got 9 top 25 teams right now. That is going to be a bloodbath, frankly. Yeah. Like really, really good teams. You've got Texas in there. You've got South Carolina. You've got Vanderbilt. Yeah. Like really quality play. And then in the Big Ten side, you've got 7 top 25 teams. I mean, together right there, that's 16 of the top 25 teams between those two conferences. What's interesting though, we called this out in top headlines. The ACC, in my mind, could be completely up for grabs. Yeah. Like you have some ranked teams, right? You've got Duke, you've got North Carolina, you've got Louisville. But like we talked about before, unranked Notre Dame, who has one of the best players in the country and Hannah Hidalgo on that team, beat number 10 Louisville over the weekend. Duke got upset by UNC. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know the exact rankings, but I would assume a lot of those rankings in the ACC are probably lower, like 10 and up, 10 to up to 25 more than anything. So you get to that point, it's kind of is like anybody's game. Anybody's game.
So that one could be interesting to watch too. That's a hard one to predict. Yeah. And then the SEC, I think what's interesting too, coming out of these conference tournaments is, UConn's not really going to get tested, at least not in the way that some of these other teams are. Whereas like South Carolina is going to have to battle through 8 other ranked, not play all of them, but like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Other ranked teams. UCLA is going to have to battle through that in the Big Ten. So, I will say one more note just on UConn, right? We were talking about this. We were watching them last night and they win by a lot. They're so disciplined and so well coached, but they get everyone's best game. Yeah. Yeah. Because everyone wants to be the team that says, I beat UConn.
Yeah. You would kind of think that the way that they dominate, that they're not getting challenged in a way that is going to prepare them for the tournament. Right. But if you're up against them, you want to be the winner and you're just going to go hard against them as hard as you can.
Yeah. All right. So we've talked, I think we've kind of alluded to like top contenders for the tournament. I think, UConn is likely to continue on their magical run. I think a team that could really challenge them is UCLA. They have another kind of different discipline, but a disciplined team. They've got Lauren Betts, who's a senior. She played in the tournament last year. She's got size that I don't know if UConn Sarah Strong, as good as she is, can really like, if Lauren Betts is on and can really get Sarah Strong off her block and off her position, like that could be challenging, right? Yeah. They've got a matchup for AZ Fudd and Kiki Rice. Like, I think there's ways that they match up pretty well with the Huskies. Outside of that, I don't even think South Carolina is going to bring it to you. Cause Dawn Staley, just like that's her DNA.
That's how it works.
But they don't have the same level of discipline. Like that's the thing with Gino's teams. Like they're so disciplined. Yeah. And like they were talking to AZ after the game yesterday and they brought up something about how like practice is really hard in a UConn jersey. Yep. Practice is harder than some of the games. Yeah. Right. And Gino does that on purpose.
Yeah. There's a reason.
So I expect that we're going to see another national championship for the Huskies. But they got to earn it.
Yep, they do. Everyone's got to go through the same tournament.
A couple players to keep your eye on as you head into conference tournaments this weekend. Michaela Blakes plays for Vanderbilt. I've watched her play a couple times this season. She's incredible. She has put up 30 points per game in SEC play, which is, we just talked about how competitive that league is. She's averaging 27 points per game, leading the nation in scoring. She can get it anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Threes, twos, drive to the bucket, pull up, mid-range, like anything. What really impressed me in the game I watched over the weekend was her defense, though.
Yeah.
Like, you think of these players as scorers, and like, I thought she did a really good job of disrupting play, getting people off their spaces, things like that. So we already mentioned her, but AZ Fudd, the fifth-year senior, likely top WNBA draft pick out of UConn. Madison Booker from Texas. She's so clean, like just such a clean style of play. Her mid-range game is fire, which that's always really tough to guard.
Yeah.
She's got a lot of length, so it's effective defensively too. Talked about Hannah Hidalgo, top 3 in the nation in scoring. She leads the nation in steals. I think she had a game over the game against Louisville. She had like 30 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, 5 steals. Like, that's a line.
That's wild. Yeah.
And then Sarah Strong, we mentioned from UConn, right? So she's their big post presence. She's really versatile. She can shoot from 3 as well. We saw her light it up last year in the tournament. And then I threw Flage on here. So Flage's a senior, Flage Johnson from LSU. She's a senior. She's got a little bit of a chip on her shoulder always for whatever reason. And I just see like she comes alive in tournament time. LSU is always a great program. They've got Kim Mulkey at the helm. You can never count her out of anything. You can definitely count on her to yell a few things at you. But it's good cinema. So keep an eye on those players, on those teams. We're really looking forward to it.
All weekend. So
we will do a bracket.
We'll get one out there.
We'll do a competition.
We'll each do our own.
We'll do a competition.
Yeah.
We'll post some updates for y'all, so you can play along with us if you want to. All right.
On to what to watch.
What to watch. Because we haven't told you enough.
Yes. We have the Paralympics. Don't sleep on the Paralympics. Kicking off March 6th until March 15th. But with wheelchair curling starting on the 4th, I believe.
Yeah, release day.
Yes. And you can find these on, I think, NBC and Peacock is kind of doing very similar type coverage. So kind of however you watched it, the regular Olympics, these will be in the same spot there.
Nice.
We have some athletes here to look for. We have Lori Stevens, a 5 times Paralympian, 7-time medalist on para-alpine.
Yeah, I think she was like a top medal winner in alpine, para-alpine for all like men or women.
Wow.
So
we have Brenna Huckabee, 3-time gold medalist in para snowboarding. One more makes her the most gold medal wins in the discipline.
Amazing.
So that'll be fun to watch. Oksana Masters, most decorated U.S. Paralympian, returns to para biathlon and para cross country skiing. I can't do this normally, so like the strength that these people have to go out there and do that is just amazing to me.
Yeah, I think we talked a lot about like the mental toughness of the athletes in the Olympics, right, a few weeks ago, and like want to talk about grit and mental toughness. Like these folks, for whatever reason, right, have disabilities, motor disabilities, neurological in some cases. And so it's incredible to think what they've overcome to be able to compete. And all the competitors, right, who are coming up. So put forth a fight for sure.
All right, we have Kendall Gretsch, first American woman to win a para biathlon gold medal. And we have Oyuna Orachimeg.
It's pretty good.
Started competing in para curling at 43 and is now 52 and back for her second Paralympics, aiming for a medal.
Can't count us out.
You can't count us out. You can always be there.
I watched actually the most incredible curling shot from a Paralympian.
Oh, I think I saw that one. Yeah.
Crazy. She like did a perfect little push. So they like do it because they're in wheelchairs.
like
they kind of push the stone. Obviously they can't go down. And so they push it, and she did like this perfect little bump, and then it landed like
right in the center,
on the button,
dead center,
right on the button. It was so exciting.
It was amazing.
I thought I was done with curling, but we're back. I'm back into it, maybe.
All right, moving on to She Believes Cup. We talked about this Wednesday, 5:45 p.m. Central against Canada on TNT, True TV, HBO, Peacock, and Universo. Mm-hmm. And then Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Central against Colombia on all of the same channels.
Yes.
All right, NCAA hockey. We're into the semifinals and finals for the conferences, for the women's conferences. WCHA can be found on Big Ten Network this weekend, starting Thursday evening. We're going to have number 13 Minnesota State take on my number 13 Minnesota State take on your number one Wisconsin
Badgers.
These are no longer best of games. This is one and done.
I was talking to the girls about this today when I was bringing them to swimming lessons, and they were like, "But what if the Mavericks win, Mom?" And I was like, well, that would be amazing. Like, we are very much fans of Minnesota State Mavericks, but it's highly unlikely. and our oldest kept being like, but what if they do?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? That's the beauty of sports. Anyone can win on any given night. You just need a couple bounces, and you got to go out and play hard. So,
you said the right things. If I would have said that to you, it would have been like, nah,
I'm open to it. I have personal connections on that team. I don't have personal, outside of me having gone to Wisconsin, I don't have personal connections to the team.
We have them we have number 4 Minnesota versus number 2 Ohio State Thursday at 7 p.m. and then a final of the winners of those two games Saturday at 2 p.m.
Okay.
That's also being played for our local audience. That's being played at St. Thomas.
Yeah, up in St. Paul.
Up in St. Paul.
Yeah. Continuing on, we have the ECAC conference, which I believe they play on Sportsnet New York, if I'm not incorrect there. Number 11, Cornell versus number 7, Yale at 3 p.m. Central on Friday, and number 8, Quinnipiac and number 9, Princeton at 6 p.m. on Friday. And then their final is Saturday at 4 p.m. Central. And then just one game out of the AHA, which is number 12. It's a final, number 12, Mercyhurst at number 3, Penn State, 1 p.m. Central on Saturday, I believe.
I think we should have a game at some point where we just force people to guess what the acronyms for these conferences stand for. Don't do it right now.
No, I can't even do it. Yeah, we'll do that later. All right. And then moving on, I tried to pick out the 2 best PWHL games going into the weekend. We have Boston at New York, 6 p.m. Central on Thursday. I think this is the best game of the week. Boston is second overall and playing at a .711 clip. So that means they gain 71% of the points available to them when they play.
Whoa.
So that's really good. It's the best in the league. And New York is currently underperforming their record with a -7 goal differential, 0 overtime wins, and 45 goals against, which I think it might be the second highest in the league. So this is like a Boston should win it, but they're in New York. Anything could happen. And I think New York could bounce up a couple of spots. Yeah, it's really tight in the middle right now.
I was going to say New York is sitting in that 4th position, at least as of this recording. And so, like, as we talked about before, you have 8 teams, 4 go on to the playoffs. Like, they got to win games.
Yeah, they do. And then we have Minnesota at Toronto Sunday at 11 a.m. Central. Hopefully a chance for Minnesota to find their skates again after the 4-0 loss to Montreal last Sunday. They're going to need to get some pucks in the net. Toronto is ranked 6th, but only 2 points from leapfrogging number 4, New York, depending on how all those other games kind of play out. So you're in 6th, you could be in tight. 4th after a game. It's just a lot of movement in the middle there.
It's really tight, I feel like. So we'll be watching that this weekend and ongoing as we head to the playoffs.
Yeah. All right. Let's close it out here with winners and losers. Losers first. I wonder who.
I was trying to think of something other than that, but I think here's what I'm going to say. My loser is somehow it being 2026 and we're continuing to perpetuate the idea that it is okay to make fun of people.
Yeah.
And that's funny. There is like a time and a place, and usually it's when the person can be laughing with you and not you laughing at them. And I love comedy, I love jokes, but there's a time and a place. And I think, broadly speaking, even if I remove like the how we got here with the joke from the president and the men's team and things like that, the reaction, like I've read some really horrible takes. I've seen an employer get online and call one of his employees a lunatic for saying that it wasn't okay to make that joke and that she's blowing it out of proportion. If I could have a penny for the number of times that women get told they're overreacting. So that's my loser, is that like we're here and we're still having this conversation.
Yeah. I mean, my losers in the same vein. I think the USA hockey leadership just kind of either really failed or really didn't care. And I don't know which is worse.
They didn't set those young men up for success either. Not that I'm not saying that they should have needed help, right?
Yeah.
Like you should know how to apologize to someone, but it seems like no one really came in and was like, you really got to think about this in a different way.
Yep, exactly.
So agree.
All right, winners.
Ooh, let's see. Winners. Breeze BC, Paige Beckers. I know I'm repping the thing here. Actually, a real big winner for me. I told Alex about this earlier, but there was a post-game interview with Paige after her huge game where they knocked off defending champions Rose.
Mm-hmm.
And this reporter just did such an excellent job of framing a question that allowed Paige to introspect and then talk about her achievement.
Yeah.
And that is not something that is often comfortable for women to do, for people to do, but specifically women to do. And this reporter just created such a beautiful space for her to do it. I was mad because I lost the clip on social media. I was going to share it on our Instagram page. So if I find it, I will. But she just did such an incredible job. Paige had a great answer to just talking about her growth and what Unrivaled has really provided her. You got to remember, y'all, she was a rookie 23. And she was a rookie in the W last year. Yeah. Like she comes across as like this, like seasoned vet, stalwart. Like she's been around and she's young. She's got a lot of room to grow and she's very humble, but like she leans into those opportunities.
She's got the game and she's got the media smarts. It's just kind of rare to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. My winner is, hold on a second here.
Oh gosh.
That
was big.
For those of you not watching this, I'm putting on my Minnesota State Mavericks hat
right now.
We saw them win in a 3-game series versus University of Minnesota Duluth, an upset, number 13 beating number 9. And so, I think this was the first time they've moved on in this playoff since 2009.
Yeah.
I think was the number there. So just really proud of the work. They looked amazing. Like they were skating so fast and so hard. like we said, like kind of like when they looked when they played the Gophers and swept them in that series.
Yeah.
So if they can just keep that up, they can at least hopefully keep it close against Wisconsin.
Yeah, and came back too. They were down 1-0 in the series against UMD. They were playing in Duluth, right? So you're gone for the whole weekend. Won the second game in double overtime. So in the WCHA in this round, it's like you just keep playing full periods of hockey. So they were in the second overtime period of that game and they scored and then took care of business in the third game.
Be fun to see what they do.
We shall see. Anyone can win, as I told my daughter tonight. So, all right, folks, we appreciate you being here. We had a lot of fun with this episode.
This one was
like we said, a lot more to come here in March. So stay tuned. Next week, we'll talk all about She Believes Cup. Maybe we'll have a CBA agreement on the table. We'll lean into some Paralympics. Conference tournaments for basketball, hockey. I mean,
these could turn into long ones if we're not careful.
We got to be careful.
All right.
Thanks for being here.
RTG_pod on socials and raisingthegamepod@gmail.com. Got to get those in there.
We'll be back next week.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.